Ever since the Indian Super League started to assume more and more importance in the Indian football ecosystem, they were left with a rather awkward situation wherein the AIFF had, in essence, two top flight leagues. Of course, the I League that they had been promoting and running for over 2 decades, and then the ISL, which of course had come about due to private agreements but which still retained the full backing of the federation. However, recent steps may have ensured that whilst the I-League is now no longer seen as the top division, and that many expected that promotion and relegation would in fact become a key staple among both leagues now that it had been decided that the ISL was in fact the default top flight league, it hasn't quite worked out always as simply as that. And I know what you're going to rush to tell me, but you had a round glass Punjab FC get promoted, and this year you will see a Mohammedan Sporting also get promoted. That is correct. Promotion from the I-League to the ISL is very much happening. But what about relegation from the ISL? Also something that was expected to be happening as a part of that process, but which so far hasn't actually happened. Well, what we do have is a rather awkward situation at that point in time wherein the I-League winners, well, yes, they do get promoted. So you have one promotion taking place every season from the second division to the first division, which is the ISL. But there has been no team that has been relegated from the ISL so far. It's a rather interesting situation, and one that many would argue is not necessarily a long-term solution, because how many clubs are you going to be perhaps putting into the ISL until it becomes too big for its own good? Already you had a case where you were over 10 clubs in, and now you brought in, of course, you've brought in a round glass Punjab who got promoted there on sporting merit. Same with the Mohammedan Sporting. But how many clubs will keep getting promoted into a top flight without basically leaving the divisions lower than that seem absolutely worthless? Well, if you are to believe the AIFF president himself, then it doesn't seem like there's any scope for relegation from the top flight happening as of this time, and in fact happening for a while yet. How so? Well, this is what he said recently when quizzed about the prospect. He said that the ISL is not ready for relegation unless the I-League raises its bar. It will take some more time. There should be a minimum gap between the two leagues. Now, to be fair, there is already a gap between the two leagues due to no, of course, fault of the I-League. The fact is that the ISL is much better marketed and of course has the better television deal, so would be bringing in more money and gets more exposure, which means that the let's say perks of turning out for an I-League side very, very low indeed, and more often than not players will jump at the chance to join an ISL side if the opportunity so arises. But unless the I-League raises its bar, I don't quite understand what exactly that's supposed to mean, because you cannot have a first division and a second division that are absolutely the same. And the whole premise of, let's say, bringing up that roadmap wherein you ensured that you'd have promotion and relegation take place between leagues was to ensure that sporting merit came into play and that the ISL, as it were, was not a closed league. Now you're in a situation where it's not a closed league, but not necessarily a very open one either, because a lot of the members who have pumped in a lot of money into some of the existing newer football clubs partaking in the ISL are immune from relegation. In what parallel universe does this make sense? Because again, the whole point of ensuring that there was movement up and down the footballing pyramid was to bring Indian football in line with how leagues around the world, specifically in countries like Europe, South America and the likes, are run. There is a promotion and relegation system that exists very clearly every season. But what is the point of teams getting promoted up to the top division and then the lower divisions running lower and lower on teams? Are you going to introduce, let's say, measures to ensure that the lower division suddenly finds more clubs? Or would it just make more sense to ensure that every year, along with one team getting promoted to the ISL, one ISL team gets relegated as well? It would only make sense because that's when sporting merit comes into play. But if you were to take the comments of the AIFF president in the context that he meant them, it does seem like the money will talk a lot louder, because the teams that have invested more have pretty much ensured themselves immunity from relegation, at least for a few seasons. Now, what are your thoughts on the matter? Do you agree with Kalyan Chaube's take? Do you disagree? Do you think that more needs to be done to ensure that promotion relegation starts off in earnest? You can tell us all that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the AajTak app, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've done as well. Now from my side though, it is goodbye.